Can everybody? It's okay. It's all been recorded. Brilliant. Well, welcome everybody to our first virtual forum of 2025-2026 academic year. This one today is really to give everybody an idea and understanding of what we do as the Parent Carer Forum, and also a bit of an idea and an introduction to one of the new directors in the education team, a guy called Sal. He's going to jump on in a minute and introduce himself. But before we go any further, we thought it would be lovely for you guys to get to know who the parent carer reps are. And so you can put a face to a name and understand us a little bit more about our backgrounds. So I will kick off and then I'll hand it over to you, Lucy, and then you can pick our next parent rep after that, okay? So my name is Julie Duff. I am mum to Cameron, who is 23, very nearly 24, and Josh. And Josh is 19. He's got Down syndrome and he's at Derwent College. That's it's because of Josh I got involved in the Parent Carer Forum, and it's been 6 or 7 years now that I've been part of the Parent Carer Forum, and I've seen the value of the work that they do to ensure that we can collaboratively make sure that the voices of parents are heard. So that's me. Over to you, Luce.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I joined in 2021. I have 2 children with additional needs. One is in a specialist high school, and one is in primary mainstream school. I joined the Parent Care Forum back then because I came out of work. I was working in a school and I was just finding it too difficult. My youngest was on the autism pathway at the time, but I needed something to do with my brain and I needed to get involved and do some volunteering somewhere. So I stumbled across the Parent Care Forum and I've been with them ever since, helping them out, volunteer. But I've also gained a lot of transferable skills for when I do go back into work, which is hopefully in the next couple of years. That's me.
Thanks, Luce. Vanessa?
Morning. Hi, I'm Vanessa. My son is Ruben. He's 14. He has cerebral palsy and a learning disability and autism as well. I joined the Parent Care Forum back in 2016, just after he started school. Similar to Lucy, I just wanted to, get involved in something while he was at school and try and find out as much as I could as well about this kind of journey that we're on. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while now. Ruben went to our local mainstream primary school, but he's now at Durham Park for high school. That's a special school in Chester.
Thank you, Vanessa. Jem?
Hi everybody, I'm mum to Caitlin, who's nearly 17, and Alfie, who is 11 now. Caitlin is currently at Pettipool College, just started there doing retail and, what's she doing? Retail and hospitality, customer services, sorry, it changes every day. Prior to that, she was at Oakland's for 5 years and has done really well there. So I think it was either just after COVID or just before COVID I joined the Parent Carer Forum. So and one thing I was going to say is, can somebody from the forum let Pettipool know that I'm now the parent rep? And then I can start that kind of conversation so it comes officially from yourself. But yeah, so it's just been really, really helpful. And interestingly, the Oaklands group that I've followed and been like one of the parents reps, they've all said they're not leaving this group. So if you've got any information, kind of share it. So even though I'll still feed it on to other parents that are in different college settings, they're still getting that information because we're still really kind of supporting each other and passing that knowledge on. I don't think it ever goes away, really. I think we'll probably keep those links for a many few years. So that's good to know that there's a legacy to it, these links that we're making now. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jem. Andrea?
Hi, sorry, I was just trying to get myself off mute. So I'm Andrea, and my daughter, my oldest daughter Alice is 9, and she's non-verbal autistic, learning disabled, ADHD, and she goes to Hinderton in Ellesmere Port. My youngest is Rosa. She's 6 and she goes to the local school, Huntington, which is a mainstream, but I think she's ADHD. And I joined the PCF back in 2022, covering maternity cover, helping organise the events, doing minutes of meetings, recording things like this, and and yeah, and then I've just stayed and helped out because I like what they do, and I just like to share around with other families as well, all the different events and meetings and everything that can help them, for support for them. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrea. Caroline?
Oh, hiya, I think I've just unmuted myself. I'm Caroline. I think I've been coming to PCF things for quite a while. I think it might have been around 2018, something like that, when my youngest was still a baby. My youngest child has Down syndrome and he attends mainstream school. My eldest has some additional needs as well, also attends mainstream. And yeah, it's just nice to be involved. It's a nice group of people. And it's nice to hear what's going on in the local authority. And also what I like about the PCF is you get to, I don't know, I feel like you kind of know what's going on better through them. Like if I wasn't involved in the PCF, I feel like I wouldn't really know what was going on with the SEND team. And I think it's good to put names, faces to names and things like that. So yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry, I am a school rep as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah.
Right, so our newbie, Sally, are you okay to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hello, I'm Sally. I've got 2 boys, both at Whitley Village School, where just about a month ago, probably, I got in touch to say, oh, I'd quite like to be involved. So I think by default, I might be a parent rep there. I've got Mr. 8 years old, who is autistic, very sensory averse, and he's in year 4. And Mr. 5 years old is just started year 1. He's also autistic, very, very sensory seeking with it. My background's in post-16 education, EAL and SEN inclusion, and I do a little bit of teaching now, but I've become involved with the PCF partly because I'm a bit nosy about what's going on with the council and what services are being adapted and put through, and it's also really good to be connected. I think at the school that we're at, the SEN parents have all found each other anyway, so we may as well sort of band together and be able to communicate effectively with how things are going. So I hope that's okay.
Wonderful, Sally. Yeah, brilliant. And welcome to the team.
Thanks.
Amy, are you happy to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I'm Amy Fisher. I've got a daughter, Nancy, who is 9 and currently struggling with school avoidance. So I go in every morning with her for an hour and do a one-to-one lesson with her, and then she returns home with me at the minute. I've got a son, Theodore, who is in Neston Primary School, just started year 1, and so far so good. He's really enjoying it. They're planning on doing an EHCP to get some hours in for him with a one-to-one. But other than that, everything's going well. So I'll be a rep for Neston Primary.
Brilliant. Thank you. And that's perfect timing. So I think that's all of our reps who have introduced themselves now. So, and Sal, welcome to our first Parent Carer Forum, virtual forum for 2025-2026. What I haven't let everybody know about is that you're under the cosh today, aren't you? There is a peer review going on in Cheshire West and Chester, so you very kindly ducked out of that peer review to come and introduce yourself to the parents. So just to let you know, the parents, this whole session is really about introducing ourselves as Parent Carer Forum, for families to get to know us. It is being recorded and will be sent, will be put on our YouTube channel and also on our website. So just to kind of let you know what the process is. So I'm going to hand over to you now to let you know that to update everybody about yourself and what your priorities are for your team going forward. So
Okay,
welcome.
well, thank you, Jules. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me to join you. As Jules says, we've just started the on-site activity of our local government association at local area send peer review. And so that peer review brings specialists and experienced professionals and parent carer leads together as a peer review team. They've come into the area and they'll be meeting with various focus groups and looking at lots and lots of documents and information about how we do things in Cheshire West and Chester in order to kind of give us an indication of what they feel from their perspective we're doing well, what we're doing okay, but also, and more importantly, what are the things that they think that we could be doing much better or doing differently in terms of a kind of a critical friend view of our activity. It's not an inspection, so there won't be an inspection report, but it is, like I say, a critical friends view on what's happening in our kind of system locally to support children and young people with SEND. So we've welcomed the team in this morning. Hence, I'm afraid I've only got a very short period to be with you. I would have liked to have joined you for the whole meeting, but unfortunately, maybe next time, Jules, if I can scrounge an invite, that'd be great. Anyway, bit about me.
We've got you
Thank
down, I
you.
think, we've got an in-person one in May. I'm sure we'll get
Brilliant.
you along to that, and by which
Brilliant.
time you'll got your feet under the table a little bit more by then.
Absolutely, because that's the other thing, colleagues, just to let you know, I'm fairly new to Cheshire West and Chester. I'm holding on to that title of new. I joined Children's Services here in June. Previous to that, I was the Assistant Director for Education in Dudley Council, and prior to that I was the Assistant Director for Learning Achievement and Partnerships in Wokingham. So hopefully I bring a level of experience, knowledge with me, but I'm every day's a learning day, so I'm also finding lots out about Cheshire West and Chester. So it's a real pleasure to be here. So in terms of Jules sort of said, Sal, tell everybody a little bit about, what you're wanting to do in the new role and what I'm wanting to do here. And it's a very similar question to that I was asked by Amanda Perrotin, the Director of Children's Services, in my first week. So Sal, what are going to be your key priorities? And for me, it's very much around attendance and inclusion. It's making sure that for those children that they are engaged in their learning, and in order to be engaged in their learning, that they are able and supported to attend wherever that might be in terms of it being the right provision for them, and particularly where it is within our mainstream settings, that those settings are then inclusive. It's not just about having children come across the threshold of the school door. It's about ensuring that the environments that we teach in, the ways that we teach, the resources that we use, the skills that we wrap around us are there to enable children to feel safe and enable children to engage in their learning. And for me, those are two key things. And in terms of my engagement, particularly around the system, the SEND system that we have within the borough, is ensuring that we get it right for those children, young people and their families. Because if we get it right for those children, young people and their families, we will get it right for all children. In terms of that inclusive, community-based way of supporting our children in their formative and learning years as they then approach adulthood. What that means for me is about making sure that I'm making the right partnerships with our health providers, with our community and voluntary sector, and, as you would no doubt expect, with all of our schools and early years settings, our further education provision, so sixth forms and colleges, as well as with our adult social care providers, so that I'm really, really cognizant of the whole journey that our children and young people will go through, that, you know, the various pathways that our children and young people will follow. And taking account of key transition points for children and young people, and make sure that we're geared up in a way that makes that smooth. I know we've got challenges within our system. We've got some real challenges within our system. Timeliness, quality of education, health and care plan finalisation, timeliness, quality of assessment, information, supporting that, really, really, really key in terms of our understanding, collective understanding of children's needs, and then how we best seek to meet them is an area that we've really, really got to continue to improve on. And that improvement's happening, but it's really slow. And I don't want it to be slow. I want us to get to the right point quickly. I see we've got a hand up. I'm happy to stop as hands go up.
Brilliant.
If
Okay.
people have got questions.
Thank you, Sal. Lucy? You're on mute, Lucy.
Not on mute, Lucy.
We said at the beginning someone would do that. It was me, obviously. I just wanted to touch up, I mean, you mentioned about a lot of challenges, and one of the challenges at the minute for inclusion and attendance is particularly around our SEND group, that we have many children that can't attend school at the moment for their needs not being met. So we've just had a parent this morning introduce herself that her child is struggling to go to school and she's only doing 1 hour a day, and she's actually the child's one-to-one for that 1 hour a day whilst things are getting in place. And there's a bit of concern as well, I think, amongst parents, of that parent blame when they don't send their child to school, because they're making that decision based on their state of mental health and how stressful it is to send them to school, but they also feel a little bit punished by the response of sending a letter to say that your child's not attending school, or receiving a threat of a fine. What do you say to that cohort of parents, that tug and pull of, I want to send my child to school, but they're absolutely at breaking point, and I feel guilty of not doing it, and I feel the pressure to send them in? And that, I think, is a lot of noise we're hearing at the moment. Well, I'm hearing at the moment from my circles.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that's a really, really difficult space for many parents to be in. From a local authority perspective, as you would expect, there are a whole load of rules and laws that we're expected to respond to. However, what we try and do as well, so that there are elements whereby, in law, it's parental responsibility to ensure their children are accessing and going to school. So there's an element there where we're constrained in terms of our responsibilities when schools are telling us that there is non-attendance, where we are then legally have to follow that up. And sometimes that's about sending a letter. It doesn't always result in fines, but sometimes it does. Yeah, I'm not going to shy away from that. So there's that side of things that are kind of set for us in terms of law. However, the more important bit is actually how are we supporting and investing in our schools and settings and in our other approaches that then support those children. So our education psychology service provides a huge amount of information to schools and settings and to parents and carers about emotionally based non-attendance at school. I really try not to talk in terms of school refusal, because it's not refusal to go to school. There's a whole host of reasons. There's a whole host of things that impact on children or parents' ability to enable their children to attend school, and I recognise that. But we provide a lot of information to schools in terms of how can schools support better children to continue to engage in school and engage in their learning. How can we avoid the position where we as a council are being contacted and asking to pursue through the school's attendance legislation those things around sending letters or moving forward towards that kind of more punitive activity? Absolutely, we want to avoid that. In fact,
can I ask a question, Sal, then? So if understand there is legislation that surrounds that means that on some occasions that you have to follow up with a fine or whatever else, but for those children who we know have got emotional school avoidance, whatever the terminology is that we need to use, who are recognised on the SEND register, does that still apply? Or could it be covered under reasonable adjustments?
Yeah, well, the whole point that we try and do is we try and engage the school in what's the reasonable adjustments that you should be doing, because sorry, let me start that bit again. It's probably helpful me a bit to explain that process around non-attendance. So when there is non-attendance, regardless of whether it's a child with SEND needs or otherwise, when there is non-attendance, there comes a point at which the school will then contact the local authority and in essence say, we want you to follow this up with some form of prosecution, whether it's for parents that have taken their children away on holidays in term time, or a child that just hasn't been coming to school because the parent's got a difficulty with aspects of the curriculum that's being taught, or whatever it might be. Like I say, there is a multitude of reasons why a child might not be in school, and the school will come to the local authority and say, now we want you, local authority, to enact your bit of the system, the legal bit of the system, in terms of following this up through the prosecution route. And usually that starts with those kind of warning letters. We've been made aware, and we want to avoid this, but you need to know that if it continues, there may be a fine or there may be a prosecution. And that's our legal responsibility when a school says to us, this is what's going on. In the first instance, we'll always go back to the school and say, well, give us your evidence. What have you done to prevent this? What have you done to support the family or that child to stay in school in the first instance? Give us all of the evidence of everything that you've tried first before we're going to go anywhere near that prosecution route. Yeah, so we do try at that point to challenge back to schools and settings. Yeah, and then on top of that, like I say, in fact, I'll put a link into your chat. Let me put that in now. So that link will take you to the web pages, which holds some of the information that we share with our schools, with our settings around emotionally based school non-attendance, the things that they should be thinking about, the things that they can do first. Yeah, before it escalates. Unfortunately, at the moment in law, it doesn't differentiate between different vulnerable groups of children. In terms of when we can, when we can't, when we should, when we shouldn't be following that pathway.
So is that something as a collective? So today we've got the National Network of Parent Carer Forums coming on to talk to us, or contact to talk to us as well. We've been organising roundtable meetings with some of the local MPs. Is this something that we should be raising with those guys in terms of getting into the white paper, that maybe those families who are identified on the SEND register, should be getting more leniency in terms of prosecution? Is that Is that, you know, would that
That's
be the
something
route?
you may wish to lobby about, you know, and whether it's you want to lobby in terms of additional leniency in relation to that kind of statutory piece in law, or whether it's actually about a difference in the availability of support services or alternative education type arrangements to support children in that situation. Because often the other thing that we do see is that for some children or for some parents, that non-attendance aspect is temporary. It's not a permanent position. Yeah, sometimes it is, but other times it's not, and sometimes it's about, well, what can we be doing that recognizes that there's a temporary challenge that is you know, exacerbating that child's ability to attend. Yeah, but actually what can we put in that enables that child to get back into schooling, back into the provision of their education. You know, so there's lots of different ways in which you might want to think about this if you want to take that forward as a kind of a lobby. But yeah, certainly it might be something that you might want to explore in terms of that bit of the legislation.
It is one of the biggest, and has continued to be over the last 2 or 3 years, the biggest issue that continues to get raised with us as a parent carer forum, the attendance and inclusion aspect of, as well as obviously timeliness. But you know, this is something, you know, if you have conversations with IAS and you ask IAS for their numbers about, you know, what are parents coming to them for advice for, it is about inclusion and attendance. Would you agree with that, Luce? Is that something that you're hearing as well?
Yes, absolutely, which is why I've raised it, and thank you for that clarification and explanation.
Really helpful.
of the legal side of it. So I think my follow-up question to that would be, you as an inclusion officer, so your director, your
That's
role.
okay.
Your director, I think you're fine, Luce.
Your role now is, part of your role is working with schools for that early identification and intervention, so that it doesn't become a temporary school refusal, and getting all schools on board. So we're because some schools do it brilliantly, don't they?
Yep,
and they really do, and it would just be nice for all of our schools in Cheshire West to be the same.
Absolutely, I don't
that's
disagree.
Part of your role to help influence that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my first few weeks, you know, I attended each of the head teacher forums. So there's a primary school forum, a secondary school forum, and a special school forum. And I've been along to each, you know, and I've been really, really clear to them that those are my priorities. You know, that actually that attendance, that inclusion, that focus around making sure that as the whole borough schools, we're doing the best in terms of all of our pupils, all of our learners, which means that we do need to pay more attention or put those more reasonable adjustments in for some of our learners across the piece. We're getting better at utilising our data as well about schools in order to support those conversations. So I'm not averse to going into individual schools and having very challenging conversations with head teachers, as well as having the supportive conversations with head teachers. I've recently just also set up what we're calling Schools Alliance, which actually brings together all the chief executive officers of all our academy trusts as well, recognizing that in the academy system, sometimes the leadership doesn't stop at the head teacher. You need to go a step above as well, you know, and you know, and that's not to dismiss the role of head teachers, but actually in those bigger organizations, they have their chief executives. So we've brought together all of those chief executives where they have trust schools within Cheshire West and Chester, and I'm having very similar conversations with them. In fact, we had the second of those meetings just last week, and it was key on our agenda. That whole priority around getting it right for our most vulnerable learners, with a key focus on those learners with SEN and SEND. And it's vulnerable by virtue of that nature of inclusion, isn't it, really? So it is key. It drives what I'm doing within the school system, because like I say, if we get it right there, we're pretty much 9/10 of the way to getting it right for everybody. So that's why it's really, really important for me. The other bit is making sure that we've got the right provision within the borough. We have been doing much to expand the provision and the types of provision that we have across our schools estate, so that we can best meet need in the right way. But we know we're not entirely there yet, so that's a piece of work that we will continue to do, working with our schools, working with our special schools, making sure that we've got the right provision. Because actually, I've got a real belief that the more we can do to keep children closer to their community, so they're not having long journeys at the start of each day and at the end of each day, and expecting them then to engage in a full school day, is really, really important. If we can keep them closer to families and to communities where they exist for them, it will be better. I recognise that there will always be a need for some independent specialist provision, because there will be children that have those very, very specialist needs, which are met by those niche providers in the best way. However, I think there's a lot of independent provision that we use that actually, if we had the resource locally, it would be much better for children, would still meet those needs for children locally. So that's another area of development that I'm really, really keyed into.
So can I ask some advice then? So if a child is it's just starting to be a school refuser, starting in secondary schools, just starting to be a school refuser, and is literally shutting, or sorry, the terminology.
That's fine.
What advice would you give the family? What, if they have something, if they have diagnosis and everything's worked in primary school, but they're transitioning to secondary school and they're now finding it really difficult, what advice would you give a family to try and encourage them back into school, and where to go to get help and support?
Okay, well, I think first key bit really, don't get hung up on the labels and the titles of things, because it changes all the time, doesn't it? But in essence, I think that one of the key things I'd be saying is make sure you're developing that relationship with your school leadership team early. Yeah, that relationship with head teachers or with year leads early, with Senkos within the school early, whilst going through that transition period. Don't wait till you've got to the school, really, particularly at those, like I say, transitioning from primary to secondary or secondary into college. Do your best to kind of build those relationships. Help the school really, really understand your child's needs. Yeah. Gaining support through your the SEND team contacts that you've had, because they can also be an influence to those schools and settings. They are not direct commissioners of services, those SEND team leads, but they have an influence and can engage in those conversations. Where it becomes particularly apparent, that, like I say, refer those schools back to the guidance that our education psychology service provides. If needs be, ask for an early annual review, because obviously if a child's now responding to that emotionally based non-attendance, something is changing for that child, that level of anxiety, or something else that's going on that's that might mean that actually their EHCP needs an early review in order to really understand have things changed in terms of the nature of what needs to happen
And
to
if they
support them.
don't have an EHCP, because you know a lot of the families that they're either going through the process or you know they haven't got an EHCP.
So again, that comes back to that relationship with school, because it might be at that transition point that actually that assessment request needs to come in. You know, the other things that we've also we're building through our kind of SEND improvement arrangements is what we're calling our ordinarily available inclusive provision. I've snuck the word inclusion into it there. You know, often when I talk about OAP, people think I'm talking about old people, but actually it's much more important that we're talking about ordinary, available and inclusive provision. So we're doing a huge amount of work in terms of refreshing, updating and saying, well, what should be there already to support children with needs that don't necessarily have a plan, don't necessarily have a diagnosis, but have clear needs. You know, what should already be there to enable them to be able to be supported, to engage. Yeah, and we're doing that through a raft of, you know, it's building up piece by piece in terms of becoming a really comprehensive guide, not just for schools and settings, but also parents and carers about what should be available, what should they be able to access or expect the school to have accessed in terms of support for their child. So keep an eye on that as that's developing is really important. The other thing that's changing in the system is that we're implementing soon the new social care reforms, Family First, which is a much more family-centric, child-centric, less intrusive approach to how we support children. And it's separating out a little bit that kind of child protection arena to that family support aspect, and much more around that multidisciplinary working with families, how we engaging families in determining what's the type of support or plan that's really going to help them, rather than professionals saying this is the plan that you get and we expect you to adhere to it. You know, so we're going through a whole load of change there, in which moves things much more into that kind of early help space, you know, that early stuff that can, you know, really influence or help add a little bit in right at the start that prevents things from escalating. Yeah, so that might also be a route in terms of that support, because sometimes it's not always about school. You know, sometimes the school bit is just where it's, you know, where it becomes evident. Actually, sometimes there are other things happening either for that family or for that child outside of education that then impact on or impinge on that child's ability to attend school. So keep an eye out for that kind of family first approach in terms of the new early help arrangements as well, because you might find support there.
Thank you, Sal.
Is that okay?
Yes, I'm very conscious of your time, so thank you very much indeed for coming along today. We're very grateful, and I know that we'll be seeing you around more and more.
Jules, just if I can, there was one other question that colleagues had sent in to me in advance.
Right,
and
okay.
of course, I don't want to miss that. I don't want, because
No,
whoever
that'd be
sent it
great.
in, it's obviously very important. And so the question was about what we're doing to increase and improve the timeliness of EHCPs. And I just very quickly want to let people know that we have invested in our SEND team. So we've increased the size of that SEND casework team. We've very recently, in fact, we're going live with it at the beginning of November, so after half term, introduced a whole SEND realignment. So in essence, I've broken the team up into two key areas. One that is purely focused around that support for assessment, that support for EHCP writing, and another team which is around our support for schools and settings, so that actually one doesn't become a distraction from the other, helps us to focus. So we've developed a new SENDIS team which will be providing some outreach support to schools and settings, which frees up our case writing team to concentrate on gathering that information, working with parents and carers to make sure we've got the right information in our EHCPs. We're also reviewing and looking more at what we can be doing in our education psychology service, because again, that's a really key area where we know we are pressured and can create a bit of a stall in the timeliness because of the volume of assessment activity that's being asked of them, quite rightly so, versus the capacity of the team to deliver that volume. So we are exploring and looking at that EP team. So I did want to just respond to that question because it had been asked.
But do you also want to talk about the two different options in the EP team, Sal, as we've got you and you've gone on to that, whether or not parents would want a virtual
yes, so
EP assessment or not?
So to kind of address some of the challenge in timeliness around the EP assessment, we purchased, in addition to our EP establishment, so the number of physical education psychologists we have in our team, we also purchased a number of assessments that could be undertaken by a team working virtually, via Teams, etc., etc. So it's not AI, it's virtual. It's still an educational psychologist, qualified educational psychologist delivering that. And what that does is, again, dependent on the nature or the complexity or the level of need, is where we may come out and offer a virtual assessment in order to support the timeliness in being able to then deliver an EHCP decision and finalise an EHCP. Yeah, it's not right for all children. We absolutely get it won't be right for all children. Some children will need that kind of physical engagement of the education psychologist in terms of their presence through an assessment. However, some children may not, and those are the ones where we would offer. Parents aren't obligated to take up that offer, yeah, but if it is offered, I would encourage you to consider it and not kind of write it off straight away, because actually what it can do is it can speed up the process for you without it providing any less of a assessment outcome from a qualified educational psychologist. Thanks, Jules. That was really helpful kind of nudge for me.
No problem at all.
Just before we move on, we did have a question in the chat, but she's disappeared now. I think you've covered most of it, but I think the main points were, how do I access that early help when my child's not attending school? And I think you said to build those relationships with schools. Sometimes it's hard to build those relationships with schools, and I would highly recommend accessing the information advice support service, and they do a lot of work with parents when communication has broken down and help build those relationships with school. And the other thing was to prompt and make sure your school is accessing the emotional based support service to access that Padlet with all those resources that from the educational psychologist, and just to nudge your school just to say, are you accessing this? Is there anything there that can help my child whilst you're waiting for other assessments and stuff? And I think that answers the lady's question that she put in the chat if she watches this back.
Smashing, thank you. And again, thank you ever so much for inviting me along. I'm sorry that I'm not able to stay for the whole meeting, but hopefully in May I can be there in person with you.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Thank you very much.
All right, Sal, thank you for your time.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Well, we'd also like to now welcome Lisa. Thank you so much for Lisa. Just let me get some slides up, and that's right at the end, so bear with me.
Thank you.
Right, Okay, so I'm just going to flick through. You please tell me when you want me to move on. She says that I can't move on anyway. Hold on a sec. Oh, my computer's been either dead slow or stop. Oh, I'm 2 in 1. So, Lisa, I will let you introduce yourself and talk about the role of Contact and the National Network of Parent Carer Forums and how we fit into the overall bigger picture. Just to let you know, Lisa, because you've just joined, this is being recorded and will be shared on our YouTube, on our website. So yeah, just to hope you're okay with that. But it means that we can reach more families, certainly those families who are currently at work and can't take time out of their diary.
That sounds like a great idea. I would have done my hair though if I'd have known.
No problem whatsoever. You just let me know when you want me to move through, okay?
Okay, that's fabulous. Thank you for having me today. I think we're ready to move on to the next one, are we? Thanks.
Right, I pressed it. There we go. There's a bit
Brilliant.
of a delay, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my name's Lisa Aldred and I work for a charity called Contact, and I'm a parent carer participation advisor covering the Northwest. So sometimes it can get quite confusing because Martin works for the National Network of Parent Carer Forums and he is our Northwest representative. So that will become a bit more clearer about why I'm introducing Martin as we talk about how forums feed in regionally and nationally. Next slide, please.
Oh, it's a bit quicker.
Okay, so my role is so Contact administer the Department for Education grant. So every local authority area has access to applying for a parent carer participation grant from the DFE, which is £17,500 a year. When you receive that grant, you are then the designated parent carer forum for your local authority area and working in partnership with your local authority. So my role is administering that grant, so approving the grants and the monitoring and supporting with ensuring that the conditions of grant and participation in the area is in accordance with the grant conditions. It's also supporting forums with any telephone and email advice that as things come up, and face-to-face support where necessary. I will just mention as well that for a couple of years now we have been updating the Parent Care Forum handbook, and it's been quite outdated for some time, but it's now on our website and it's been updated for the main part, and it's still in progress, so there are some bits still being updated. I can share that link in the chat later if that's helpful, because that helps explain quite a number of things. So my colleague Martin, he is the Northwest representative for the National Network of Parent Carer Forums. So the best way I find describing how the National Network of Parent Carer Forums and Contact and the Parent Carer Forums work together is we meet as a region, as a regional group, which I'll go on to next. And Martin he collects the voice of the Parent Carer Forums and represents that regionally and nationally, and Contact offers support mainly around the grant but around parent participation. So Contact is like more the support arm, and the National Network of Parent Carer Forums is the voice, the strategic voice, and everybody comes together to work co-productively to ensure that parent carer voice is heard and it is influencing service change. Next slide, please.
Hold on, it's not.
Moving. Oh.
Oh, come on now. Don't know why it's not moving. Hey.
Super. I think we can skip that one, please.
Oh, you give me enough. Hold on. Yay! We all need to cheer when I manage to switch over. Keep going, Lisa.
So what is a parent carer forum? So parent carer forum is a representative model. So it's representative local groups of parents and carers of children and young people with special educational needs or disabilities from the ages of 0 to 25. As I mentioned before, each local area has one parent carer forum that's funded by the DFE, and forums are different, so different from area to area and region to region, because they are independent organisations shaped by the local people, and they range from constituted groups to charities, CICs, etc. They're all quite different and have evolved in their own local area focused way. Next slide, please. So what is a DFE parent carer forum? Like I said, it's representative. So that means that people who sit on the strategic boards, who are parent carers, are representing other parent carers. So they are representing the collective voice, feeding back the experiences that families are having of local services. So for example, you'll no doubt do different activities and engagement activities, which could be like coffee mornings, drop-ins, and listen to what parents are saying. And then the parent carer forum representatives represent that on the strategic boards. And they do this in a very participatory and co-produced way. So the idea is that, you know, you are there at the table equal to everybody else around the table, and you are looking at solutions to the issues that might be arising and working together to bring those solutions to the table. Forums are independent from the local authority. So even if they do receive funding from the local authority or from health partners, they do with an understanding that they remain independent of them. The forum's role is to provide challenge when things do need to improve, and to work with the providers and the partners to find solutions. There is just a paragraph on there from the SEN Code of Practice that explains what a forum is, and I think everybody will get the slides. So what is a forum not? A forum is not a support service, it's not a protest group, and it's not to advocate for individual cases. However, next slide. Yay! Although it's not a support group, forums do tend to be very supportive of each other, and it is a side effect of being involved in the forum that it does become a supportive environment. But the purpose of the forum is to be the strategic voice, making changes that are positive changes for families. And although campaigning and protesting is not something that forums do, because we work co-productively and together with our partners, that does not mean we don't stand up for what's right, and we don't do that in a respectful way. And with speaking with our partners, we absolutely do challenge, but we just do that in a different way. There's no right or wrong way. Forums need to do that co-productively. And it is part of the DFE grant as well, that you are signing an agreement to work co-productively with your partners. And so although we don't speak for individuals and we don't advocate on behalf of individuals, because we speak up for the many, the collective voice. Next slide, please. I think one of the important things, it's so difficult, and actually this is a really difficult slide because it does often feel like you're in a fight, and that's not you know, you can't take away from how people feel, because it does often feel like you're in a fight. I didn't mention earlier, sorry, that I am a parent carer, and I am part of my own parent carer forum. So I do understand the journey, and I do find it difficult sometimes, because it is emotive to sit at the table and represent the collective voice of people when things are difficult for yourself. But as a parent carer forum, and as representatives, we're not there to fight with our partners. We're there to work together and to find solutions. So that is the purpose of the Parent Carer Forum. Next slide, please. So this is the national network of parent carer forums and how things work regionally and nationally. So it all comes from the National Participation Agenda, and the contact participation team offer support to the regional and local forums. The steering group, there are no directors. So Martin is a director of the National Network Steering Group, and they represent the voice on regional and nationally. So that works in the way that I mentioned before. We have the regional parent carer forums, and there are 24 forums in the North West. It's quite a strong area in terms of parent carer forum networking. So we work together to bring in that voice and bring people together. That is still developing into different clusters at the moment, which we'll go on to in a minute. So really, I've gone kind of bottom up. I've gone the wrong way. But you start with your local parent carer community, your parents, just expressing, you know, what's going on in the real life experiences. That gets fed into your local parent care forum. That then gets fed into your regional parent care forum, and that feeds up nationally. So our national network director will work directly with ministers in government in shaping services nationally. So it has an impact on every level. It has an impact locally, in your local area, regionally and nationally. Next slide, please. These are the clusters that I just mentioned. So we have Lancashire and West Cumbria, Cheshire and Mersey and Greater Manchester. They're set into 3 different clusters, and in our northwest area that aligns pretty much with the ICB. Yeah, I was trying to think of not giving the acronym.
Integrated Care Board.
Sorry, yes, of course. Integrated Care Boards. And we now have 24 forums because Cumbria is split into 2 areas. And we're still evolving these clusters and working to help each other share information and work together stronger. But it's a very, very strong network really in the Northwest. Next slide, please. Again, this is just showing how we meet together regionally to come together, share different experiences, and that gets fed in through Martin, our Northwest Representative Director, to the National Network Care Forums. It's also a good opportunity to come and see what's happening in other areas, share good experiences, and just really think about how things might work in your area as well. Next slide, please. So this is going back a little bit from COVID, the letter that's on here, which was just an example of how the National Network Steering Group worked directly with ministers. And in COVID, when there was deciding to close all the schools so that no children could go to school, the National Network were very insistent that some of our children really needed to be in school, and that this was going to be detrimental to a lot of families. And within the space of 24 hours, it was decided that children could go into school. And that was a direct result of the national network working with the ministers at the time to represent the voice of families and their concerns through that really difficult time. And that happens, it's very difficult at the moment because there's lots of changes happening and it's a bit of an uncertain time. But our national network directors are working directly with ministers to influence in terms of what they're hearing from forums. Forums are hearing that from parents, and that is getting fed up to feed into that work. Next slide, please. So I know that this slide deck continues on co-production, but I think I'm going to probably end on this one because my time's up and this covers, I think, what you've put on the agenda. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, super.
Of course.
So basically, how can people be involved? There's really, I'm sure there's lots of information from your forum on how to do this, but this is there's just a wide range of how to be involved in your forum through different opportunities, being a member, getting updates, attending events, volunteering, the coffee mornings, or other options that may be available to you in your forum. Just check what the next slide was and then I'm not missing anything. Okay, so this one's about parent representation, and that's if you are going to be representing your forum on a strategic level with partners. Some important things to consider are, like I was mentioning before, about being in a fight. Are you in a current battle? Because sometimes then you're just not best placed necessarily to be on a meeting that you're trying to work together with people. And that's totally down to, you know, that's why we have a steering group, so people can look out for each other and support each other and determine whether people are in the best place to do that. It's important to be solution focused so that we can come together and actually come up with solutions. It's important to listen because we've got a lot to say. I think there's certainly always a lot to say and a lot of things that we want people to hear. It's also important to listen to people around the table so that we can come up with solutions. It's also important to leave your stuff at the door to be able to go in and represent what you've heard collectively from other parent carers. I'm just going to keep going till I think we've got to the end of the...
Oh, sorry. I preempted that. Do you want me to get it back up?
It's fine. I think if you're happy with it, I've covered what you've wanted me to cover.
I think the next slide was about co-production from memory,
great,
which we so thank you very much indeed, Lisa. Has anybody got any questions for Lisa? Lisa has been a godsend to us and our parent carer forum journey over the last, it's probably been about 5 years or so, hasn't it now? You know, we've gone to you for advice on, you know, how that we can steer the forum. We are the next part of this session is about how we fit into the work that you guys do. But we are we're not a charity, we're not a CIC. We literally run off the £17,500 a year that the Department for Education give us, and we don't get any additional funding from the local authority or health or anything else like that. So it's, you know, it's quite a tight amount of money that we've got to be able to deliver everything that everybody asks of us. And, you know, it's great to be able to share experiences with the national network and the regional network so that we can get better ways of doing things, really, and trying to stretch that money for us as much as we can. So thank you for all of your help and support over the last 5 years, Lisa, and for coming here again today to help update our new reps and to make sure that everybody knows where we fit in locally and where more importantly, where their voices, where parents' voices, and how that filter actually works right the way through to the government ministers. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for everything you do. It's amazing. Thanks very much.
See you soon, Lisa. Take care.
Bye.
How are we doing for time, Luce?
We're good. Okay.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm going to go back to the agenda. Oh no, PowerPoint live. I don't know what I'm doing now. I'll just stop sharing. Bear with me, everybody. Oh, look at that. Can you see?
We can see that, Jules.
You can see that. Okay, that's not the right one. Then I'm just bear with me. I'm just going to have to stop sharing. I've got the wrong presentation up there. Stop sharing. Okay.
It's been a bit mental, isn't it?
It's very, very slow. When I'm hitting something, it's not actually sharing it immediately. There is a delay or it'll jump ahead. So I'm not quite sure whether or not that's my internet connection or whether or not that's my laptop. So here we go. Let's see. I'll see if I can pick up where we left off. Okay. Right. So I think it's important. The next part of the agenda is really to show you where we fit into what it is that Lisa's just talked about, and just to reiterate some of the things, because there has been misconceptions over the years about what we do and what we don't do. And also, you know, quite rightly, there are different things that other parent carer forums do because they're a charity or they're structured in a different way that we don't do. So it's just to kind of like reiterate some of that. Right, can you see my screen?
No.
No, man. Right, sorry, people.
Looks like it's loading, Jules. Right there,
Can you
yeah.
see anything? Okay.
Not yet. It's thinking about it.
No?
No.
Sorry, guys. We're gonna have to trim this on the actual live things.
Do you want me to see if I can get it up?
I'm just doing it. What about now? Can we see?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
I feel like we need a trumpet or something.
Woohoo!
It is so slow. I do apologise. Okay,
so. And can you
we
put
go.
it out to full screen somehow without losing it, or do you not get?
I will do my best. You hold on a sec. Right, fingers crossed. Hold on. How?
It's got you back to the beginning.
Okay. Right, I am going to quickly go through them. Sorry, gang. Who's manically typing away there? I can hear.
Sorry, well, I'm mute.
No, don't be sorry. It's better than me flicking through slides that you've already seen. Oh man, I'm really hoping that this can be cropped. So we oh my god, there we go. Thank you.
There you go.
I'll go back slowly.
That's right at the end now.
I know, that's what I mean. It's gone right the way through it. Okay, give you an idea. Right. Nothing to see here. We're all on target. So who are we? So all of us, as you met right at the beginning, we've all got parents, and we're all parents of children with SEND who live within Cheshire West and Chester. Either our children go to school within Cheshire West and Chester, or we live within Cheshire West and Chester. And there are, as Lisa said, 156 parent care forums across the whole of the UK. Our mission here in Cheshire West and Chester is to amplify the voices of our parents and our carers, ensuring that our children's needs are met. We're partnership working in collaboration with Sal and others within the local authority and the health. Expert advice. That's not our expert advice, by the way. That is getting the professionals on board to share their expert advice. That could be anything from educational psychologist, occupational therapists, or even the information and advice and support team about some of the legal sides of the education, health and care plan process and the SEND process overall. Continuous improvement, we are always looking to work and improve on everything that we do, and again I'll go on and talk more about how we do that in the next phase. And we are independent. I think it was really nice how Lisa explained that as well, that we're not representing our own children's needs, and in fact in some situations I feel that, you know, Josh's needs have been detrimental because I don't want to raise what his concerns are. It is about raising the collective voice rather than our own independent voices. Okay, so I am trying to move on. There we go. This is just a different way of representing what it was that Lisa was saying. But the most important bit is that the parents and the carers and the children are in at the centre of everything that we do here at Cheshire West and Chester. That is some of the pictures of our parent reps. Not all of them, it's not an exclusive list, but the children are at the heart of what it is that we do. The money comes from the Department for Education, it goes through to Contact, that's £17,500 a year, and we spend it on working with Cheshire West and Chester, the National Network of Parent Carer Forums and the ICB. Okay, so what is it that we do and we don't do? So we do feedback, we do work in partnership and co-produce, we signpost, we try our very best to keep everybody updated and informed, and we need you to play your part in that by following us on socials and sharing that information amongst your own parent networks as well. We find that word of mouth between parents is really one of the most effective ways to communicate, and we do try and plan for the future. What we don't do, as Lisa quite rightly pointed out, we're not in a fight. We can't protest. We don't provide services directly. And we don't advocate for individual cases, and we're not a support group in that forum, in that mechanism. But having said that, it is an incredibly supportive environment of which you're entering and sharing in. Okay, so a little bit more kind of Cheshire West and Chester kind of focused. This is something that this has come out of the new governance structure, which is very new within the council. So there is a SEND strategic partnership board. Both Lucy and I are part of that board, and that has the key leaders from the ICB, the Director of Children's Services, Amanda Periton. Sal sits on there. We have Jill Tyler sitting on there, and it's chaired by an independent chair, a lady called Edwina Grant. That meets quarterly, and that is the juggernaut of a board that is trying to make positive changes within the local authority and health services. It's a real challenging and questioning board. You know, it's the board that can release money. The Department for Education sits on that board, and you know, other budget holders is for want of a better phrase. We have the SEND steering group, and the SEND steering group is headed up by Sal and also Jill Tyler, and again that's a joint board between health and education to make sure that we are being representative across all areas. And this organisation chart here kind of shows you key parts of the strategy. So every area on here has got a parent representative, so that within the new strategy within the local authority, there is a inclusion work stream or delivery group. There is an early intervention and identification delivery group. There is a SEND partnership and preparation for adulthood delivery group, co-production, sufficiency and commissioning, and the last one that I can't see because everything is in the way, education healthcare plans. So we have parent representatives that sit on each of those. The SEND Inclusion Board is headed by Debbie Edwards. The Early Intervention and Identification is headed by Jill Tyler. Preparation for Adulthood is headed by a guy called Matthew Pilling. Co-production is jointly led by myself and a lady called Katie Ellison. Sufficiency and commissioning is headed by Angela Lewis. and education and health and care plans, timeliness and quality, etc., is headed by Karen Cove. So you can see how the parents' voices are woven into each aspect of that strategy and how it feeds up to the partnership board. If anybody has got any questions at all, please, and somebody will let me know, because I can't see anything now other than this screen. Okay, so how do we capture your voices? This is really important because what we've managed to do and achieve over the last 2 years, well, we've been collecting your voices in a number of different ways. One is via forums, either in person or the virtual forums. One is via focus groups. One is we meet with third sector every month, and so most charities, I say every charity, but most charities who operate within the SEND world, we meet with on a regular basis. We obviously collect views on social media, we run a series of coffee events, and we have representative school reps at a lot of the schools across Cheshire, West and Chester, but we're always looking for more. The important survey that's coming up is our biannual survey, which we've been running for a number of years. And what we managed to achieve with the last survey is that the results of that survey have been written into that strategy that I've just talked to you about with all of those different headings. So there will be key performance indicators that preparation for adulthood have, or that the inclusion group have, that relate to the parents and the carers' voices, to making sure that there is some accountability written into all of the government, all of the local authority and NHS structures that are representing our voices. Our next biannual survey will come up towards the end of this year, and there'll be kind of like a soft launch over the Christmas period, and in January we'll be launching it again. And it's really important that you guys share that and fill it in, and we are capturing your voices so that we can then go back to the local authority and all of those leads to say, actually, preparation for adulthood has or hasn't improved from a parent's perspective over the last 2-year period, and we can really start drilling down into what the issues are or where things have gone particularly well. So our school reps, we've got school reps at all of these schools here. We need more, so please do get involved. It's really important that we've got boots on the ground and we're actually hearing what's being said, not just in special schools, but in mainstream settings as well. And in some ways, mainstream settings even more so, because it can be more of a challenge in mainstream settings than it is in some of the special school settings. So the survey, the key themes that came out of the survey, the last survey that we ran, is that the communication and culture within the local authority and within Cheshire West just generally was poor communication. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody. In fact, it's been our consistent theme since we've been running these surveys going back to 2016. The EHC process was a battle and weren't hitting legal obligations. That we do have quite an incredible network of charities where parents feel very supportive. There is lack of services. There's big gaps in the services for wraparound care and short breaks for our SEND families. The HAF programme only goes so far, but it doesn't actually help support our parents through those long summer months that we're all just kind of coming out of. The eligibility criteria just seems to be patchy across the whole of the local authority, and we really need to standardise some of that to make sure that people feel that it is fair across the borough. And this came out hugely. The emotional toll and that fight that parents do inevitably have takes a massive emotional toll. If people want to read the full report, then please feel free to go on our website and you can click through on that link when you get these slides out after the forum. So 2026, 25, 26, you know, what we will be able to see, we'll be able to see whether or not some of that communication, trust and partnership has changed since 2024, whether or not some of the mechanisms that have been put in place, some of those challenges, some of that spend that Sal talked about in the SEND team and within the HCP writing team and within the council as a whole, whether or not that has improved our services and our experiences, whether or not transparency and co-production have improved at all, and if training and accessibility is reaching more parents. What we will be looking out for when we're doing those comparisons is any continuing gaps in communication, the waiting times, whether or not they've reduced, how well transitions are being supported, because that was an issue that was been raised to us for early years into school and then school into like our post-16 families, and whether or not reviews and monitorings are actually happening consistency. So once this survey is out there, and we'll be doing lots of social media around it, we really need our families to get behind that and make sure that they share it and complete it. Oh, it's not doing it again. I'm going to go through 3 slides. It was going so well, wasn't it? Okay, so coffee events. There are more than ever. So please seek them out. There are, again, one of the charities that we've talked about, Koala, have got funding to make sure that they are running regular weekly coffee events across the borough. So they have held them in Ellesmere Port and they're holding them in Chester. Other charities like Space are holding coffee events, and then we will be also hooking up with some of the children's centres across the borough to make sure that you guys can come and just find out information, find out what services are available, or just catch up and have a moan if that's what you want. So I encourage you all again to make sure that you go to our website and find out when these coffee events are actually taking place. So the plan for next year, we have, it's kind of like I feel like I've got a bit of a broken record, but we have £17,500 a year to spend, and we spend it as frugally as we possibly can. So this year we're managing to run 3 in-person forums. We've managed to make sure that we are able to maintain that. The main reason that we've been able to maintain that is because our preparation for adulthood is being run in conjunction this year with the local authority. So they are paying for all of the hire of the Civic Hall. But our first in-person forum is going to be held at Hertford Golf Club, and that's to look at all things neurodiversity. So we have a broad spectrum of speakers. We'll be talking about our PINS project. I realise that's an acronym, and I'm going to fill space until Vanessa can take herself off mute and remind everybody what PINS stands for. Go.
It's the Partnership for the Inclusion of Neurodiversity in Schools
project, which is brilliant, which is a national project that we will be updating everybody of how that's being rolled out in phase 2 within Cheshire West and Chester. Thank you. And then we'll be having our education, inclusion and mental health, which will again, I mentioned to Sal, he will be at that, and we'll be talking about all things about inclusion, because we realise and we recognise that this is one of the biggest barriers for education for a lot of our SEND families, and that's at Vickers Cross Golf Club. At that, we will hopefully also be presenting the results of our survey to give you an update about what you've actually been telling us and how that fares against 2024 and 2022, so we can track that progress. We have our online ones as well, which is obviously today, which are recorded. All of these will be recorded and put up online. Early years, benefits and supports, and some short breaks, and some of the charities who are out there as well. We've talked about our coffee events, and we also have training, and this is specifically for you guys. So empowerment and communication, that's all about some skills that we can teach you in how to be more effective in a meeting scenario if you are with professionals in education, healthcare, plan meetings, etc., etc. How to navigate the SEND system and any support that there is actually in education. So things like the ordinary, available, inclusive provision and other things as well. Okay. Let's see if I can move on to the next one. This is just to give you an idea of some of the work that we did do last year. So, you know, when you start to look at it in numbers, you can realise how far that 17.5 grand goes. You know, we have over 850 members. That keeps growing. We have 22 school reps in mainstream and specialist schools. We ran our 3 in-person forums. We ran 3 training sessions, and we had, you know, we reached over 370 families at those events. We had over 60 coffee events, whether or not it's evening ones where we had marketplaces, or indeed ones where we've actually been invited to go into schools. Our social media is growing, and we need it to continue to grow. We know that that's where a lot of families are finding their information. And again, if I can ask you all to please do share, like and share our social media posts, just so that we can reach more and more families, that would be great. And then our co-production, we had the SEND strategy that Lucy and I sat down and challenged an awful lot that went into that SEND strategy. And as I spoke about earlier, you can see where our parents are actually represented at each layer of those. We are, and we continue to meet with our MPs. We had a meeting with Andrew Cooper last week about the white paper, and we got a load of our families together to share their views with him so he can feed it in, and we will continue to do that. And then we also have a steering group where we have a number of professionals who sit in our steering group, and it's our opportunity to feedback on the ground the issues that are taking place every single day, and we can answer questions. So if there are things that are coming through that are irregular themes, we can ask our professionals to take those away as actions to get back to our families. Okay, I think oh yes, I will just go back. This is how you find us. So please do sign up for our monthly newsletter. We're on Facebook, we've got emails, our website is regularly updated. Please WhatsApp us. And as I've said a few times today, we also have a YouTube channel. So on our YouTube channel, we'll have all of our past forums, which are still valid. So there's still information on there about, you know, maybe benefits or wills and trusts or whatever else that we might have run in the past. So it is a great opportunity for you to go and find out some information that specifically relates to this area. And I think I'll get to that. Thank you. There you go. So thank you very much indeed to all of you for coming and attending today, and for all of you who are watching back online. If you have any questions at all, feel free to get in contact with us, or indeed ask any questions in the chat that you have now. I'm now going to stop sharing and realise that I'm presenting to an empty room, no doubt. Anyway, stop sharing. There we go. Is that stop sharing? I am presenting to an empty room. It's all gone quiet. There we are. Okay, I think that is everything. Has anybody got any more questions at all? Amy, have you got a question? Do you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop recording now. So if there's anything in addition that people might want to ask.
Amy Jones.
Oh, Amy Jones. Sorry, not Amy Fisher. I'll stop recording now, okay? And then we can ask any individual questions that people might have.
Do you want to pop on, Amy, or do you want me to read it out?